Hey friends, thought I would do a video for this post and share about my history of church and community. I grew up in my going to church my whole life, from the time I was born, I guess, and mostly more conservative churches, though my family was not particularly conservative or legalistic. We ended up in churches that were kind of that way and maybe rub some people the wrong way. But that started in New York, suburbs of New York on Long Island, at a Baptist church, and then in Wheaton when I was in middle school. We ended up at First Baptist Church of Wheaton. And so, again, fairly sort of traditional, conservative, legalistic kinds of churches up until my college-ish years, when I started working extremely part-time at a Covenant church in the area, working with youth while I was also in a computer career. And so that was a more progressive expression theologically, I guess, of church. And I was there, I worked for 2 years, attended there, and then I ended up in Michigan at a non-denominational church that was still kind of theologically conservative, but not legalistic, and sort of in that Willow model, if that makes sense. And so that it was continuing this progression of church, moving more and more sort of out of that legalistic background. So this was a larger church, contemporary, for the time, whatever contemporary meant in year 2000. We had drums, I guess. And so it changed my understanding of the church as being more contextually accurate to the people who attend. And from there, I ended up at my current church. I was there for a couple of years, and I've been where I am now for 15 years at Grace Church in Noblesville, which is just north of Indianapolis. And we are a non-denominational, and we describe ourselves as a three-stream church. We have some evangelical roots. We're committed to justice and have sort of the mainline denomination influence as a church, and then also really deep into experiencing the power of the Holy Spirit and power of prayer, and some more charismatic roots. And so Grace has really shaped my idea of church, in both being very contextually accurate, but biblically trying to represent the church and God's kingdom, and join in what He's doing in the world. In terms of meaningful formative Christian experiences, I would say my call into ministry probably is one of the biggest, because I was a young guy, single, computer geek at a time when that was a growing career. I had a lot of opportunity, and so through a real wrestling with God and wrestling with my calling and opportunities, giving up a career in computers and technology for ministry was really formative, and had to go through some failures some failures in my jobs as I wrestled with which way I should go. And so God really met me through that time and affirmed His call in my life. And some of the most formative Christian community has really been those I serve with, those I've been on mission with, and made incredible close friends that I've served with in ministry. And there's something about being sort of arm in arm and serving together and on mission together. And so I've made incredibly close friends that were very maybe dissimilar. We wouldn't normally have bonded, but we bonded through serving. And so now, after 15 years at the church, just deep friendships there. And sort of books and person. So my churches, like I explained, were progression. A New Kind of Christian was one of those awakening books. Right when that came out, it was a very different approach to Christianity that I'd grown up with, and that even was practiced at my church in Michigan. More recently, Prophetic Imagination by Walter Brueggemann has had a huge influence on my life. And just thinking about what is our role as a person, as a church, in each other's lives, and why do we exist. And then a lot of missional kind of books and thinking have shaped my view of the church and who God has called us to be. And I haven't had significant wounding in groups. I've been disillusioned in small group, which is always built around community. I've been disillusioned with people who get in there and get stuck. That like maybe that's their understanding of God's dream for their life, to attend church on the weekend and every couple of weeks to get together and have pie and talk about how they don't understand the Bible. I don't know. It was very we've had some groups. I've been in a couple of groups where we really made my wife and I made really close, deep friendships, but others where um, I don't know. There's something where instead of it being a launching off point, getting in community, being in a small group so they can become a vibrant part of the church, they never moved past just kind of making a few friends, and it felt like Christian speed dating. So um, I don't know if that's hurt or just again disillusionment with kind of traditional small group ministry for adults, but that's my sort of story of community in the church. Thanks.